The ugliness you see in others? That's often the part of yourself you haven't dared to face. Hate doesn't exist outside of you. It lives in the spaces you avoid, in the moments you deny, in the fears you refuse to acknowledge. It colors your thoughts, your choices, the way you react to everything. And most people carry it without even noticing, thinking it's about someone else, when it's always about something inside them. Hate is rarely born from logic. It doesn't care about fairness, justice, or reason. It thrives on perception, on what feels threatening, on what exposes the cracks we hide from ourselves. You see someone living the life you wanted, and the admiration you feel flips into resentment. Someone speaks in a way that reminds you of your own insecurities, and suddenly every word is a knife. It's never them. It's the parts of yourself that stare back, unacknowledged, making you uncomfortable, making you angry, making you lash out. When you hate, your mind holds on to tiny moments, replaying them again and again. A smirk, a comment, a success you didn't achieve. The longer you replay it, the more satisfying it feels, like a drug. That momentary thrill is addictive, but it's a trick. It convinces you that the other person is the problem, that they deserve your focus, that your resentment is justified. In reality, hate is a mirror, reflecting what you won't admit about yourself. You might think hate is about anger, but anger fades. Hate lingers. Anger is immediate, reactive, a flash. Hate becomes a shadow, following you, coloring your perception of everyone around you, shaping how you act, shaping how you see the world. It's a lens that distorts reality, making you see enemies where there are none, threats where there are only choices, flaws where there are differences. The traits we despise in others are often the traits we fear in ourselves. Someone arrogant, and it feels unbearable, but maybe it's our own lack of confidence that stings. Someone selfish, and it enrages us, but maybe we struggle to set boundaries in our own lives. Someone successful, and envy rises, but maybe ambition is buried under years of fear or doubt. Hate hides what we refuse to face, dressing insecurity as moral outrage, weakness as judgment. And yet, hate feels safe. It feels like protection. It feels like control. When you hate, you can tell yourself you're right, justified, morally superior. You can hold on to your sense of clarity while the world moves on, while the person you despise continues without you. But that clarity is false. The truth is, hate doesn't protect. It isolates, it narrows vision, it keeps you small. You carry it like armor, but it's rusted, heavy, and invisible. Sometimes hate grows strongest when the other person isn't even aware. You build narratives in your mind, twisting their actions, imagining intentions that may never exist. You become a prisoner of imagined slights, rehearsing scenarios that never happened because your brain craves the tiny spike of satisfaction that comes with thinking yourself justified. That spike is fleeting, but the cycle repeats over and over until it feels normal, until you mistake obsession for vigilance, until you mistake bitterness for strength. And yet, hate also tells the truth. Every person we despise, every resentment we feel exposes something we've avoided. It's uncomfortable, but honesty is in the reflection. It asks, what am I afraid of? What have I refused to see in myself? What wounds haven't I acknowledged? Hate pushes us to look inward, whether we like it or not, whether we face it or not. The danger is ignoring it, pretending it's not there, burying it under distraction, letting it grow quietly until it shapes the life we live without our awareness. Decisions, reactions, relationships, perceptions, all subtly dictated by the part of ourselves we refuse to see. Hate becomes invisible, part of our identity, part of our default mode. We don't notice it until it's too heavy to carry. But hate isn't inevitable. It doesn't have to control. It doesn't define us. It becomes powerless the moment we recognize it for what it is, a reflection, a signal, a shadow of fear and insecurity and unprocessed pain. That recognition doesn't make the hate disappear instantly. It doesn't erase the feelings or the experiences, but it shifts the power. We stop being prisoners of resentment. We see the world more clearly. We see ourselves more clearly. And that clarity brings freedom. The irony of hate is that it can teach as much as it destroys. Every flicker of resentment, every pulse of envy, every replayed memory carries information about who we are and who we aren't facing. Those emotions are markers, not punishments. They're guides, pointing to the parts of ourselves we've ignored. Every hatred is a lens into our own fears, our insecurities, our unmet desires. Hate thrives in avoidance. It feeds when we refuse to reflect. It grows when we compare, when we judge, when we measure ourselves against others instead of confronting our own truths. And the longer it grows, the more distorted our perceptions become. The people we think we hate may not even matter to the story of our lives, but hate makes them central because it fills a gap we refuse to face. Most people mistake the feeling for justice, for strength, for self-protection. But hate is heavy. It narrows vision. It hijacks thought. It steals energy, clarity, and freedom. And the worst part is, it often masquerades as righteousness, as morality, as truth. But beneath it all, it's fear. And fear is always inside. When we finally confront hate honestly, the first moments are strange, uncomfortable, sometimes terrifying, because hate isn't just an external force, it's a mirror, and mirrors show things we may not want to see. The courage comes in looking anyway. The clarity comes in seeing the reflection and understanding what it means. That's when the shift happens. The grip loosens, the energy trapped in obsession, in resentment, in bitterness begins to release. The ugliness in others isn't theirs, it's a reflection. And when you stop letting it control you, when you stop letting it define your reactions, your thoughts, your decisions, something changes. Life feels lighter, choices feel freer, relationships feel clearer, and the world stops feeling like a battlefield. Hate isn't about them, it's about what we haven't faced in ourselves. It's about fear, envy, pain, avoidance, and denial. The moment we face that, the moment we understand it, the moment we acknowledge the reflection, hate loses its power. It doesn't vanish, but it stops controlling. And that freedom, that is the point. The question isn't why they did it. The question isn't how to get even. The question is, what does this hate reveal about me? What am I avoiding? What haven't I faced? And if you answer honestly, the answer changes everything. Hate is human. It is unavoidable. But being owned by it is optional. Understanding it, observing it, facing it, owning your own reflection, that's the only way out. And when you do, life opens up. Choices become sharper. Decisions become clearer. Perspective becomes more real. And then, the person you once hated, they fade. Not because they changed, but because you did. You saw what mattered. You faced what was inside. You stopped giving away your energy, your mind, your life to something that never belonged to you in the first place. Hate doesn't disappear through denial or distraction. It disappears through reflection. It disappears through understanding. And when it does, you finally see what you were never seeing before: the world, other people, and most importantly, yourself, without the weight of resentment pulling you down.